back to my channel. My name is Nyambura and this is 100 on Books. Today I'm going to be sharing my September book haul with you. So let's get right into it because it was more than one book. So the context here is that I bought books thrice last month. First at the Kenya Museum Society sale. Then on the same day I went to the Kenyan Readathon, which is hosted by Lexa Lubanga. I'll post a link to her channel downstairs. And I've got 2 books. Then right at the end of the month, like literally on the last day of the month, I got 2 more books. So I'm already waving one from the KMS sale here. And I'll post a link to the sale just in case there's something you'd be interested in for next year. It's an annual sale and membership gets you access to other things. No, this is not sponsored. Anyway, the first up is Lies by Enrique D. Aries. I hope I'm saying that right. And then the synopsis says, here's the truth. When I saw the headline announcing the death of a Spanish woman in an accident in Guatemala, it never occurred to me that the dead person might be me. As far as the outside world is concerned, Isabel Garcia Luna is dead, but in reality she's alive and hiding in a remote jungle. She just isn't ready to tell the world about her continuing existence. In fact, she's not sure she ever will be. Serena, Isabel's daughter, has come home. With her mother dead, she's trying to write the family history before it's lost altogether. Above all, she's obsessed with the story of the charismatic Simon, her father's father, who survived a shipwreck and 3 days at sea before being rescued. Ever since she was a child, Serena has been tantalized by the story. Yet the irony is that she isn't investigating the one story she really should, that of her mother's death. And it was translated by John Cullen from the Spanish. So that's one. Then next up is Last Man in Tower by Aravinda Diga. And the synopsis is 21st century Mumbai is a city of new money and soaring real estate, and property kingpin Dharmen Shah has grand plans for its future. He's offered to buy and tear down a weathered tower block, making way for luxury apartments will make each of its residents rich if all agree to sell. But not everyone wants to leave. Many of the residents have lived there for a lifetime. Many of them are no longer young. As tensions rise among the once civil neighbors, one by one, those who oppose the offer give way to the majority, until only one man stands in Shah's way, Master G, a retired school teacher, once the most respected man in the building. Shah is a dangerous man to refuse, but as the demolition deadline looms, Master G's neighbors, friends who have become enemies, acquaintances turned conspirators, may stop at nothing to score their payday. And I had the choice of this or a book by... Why am I forgetting his name? He wrote The Return. Anyway, the book is called The Anatomy of a Disappearance. I'll put a link to both the books downstairs because suddenly now my head is empty. But yeah, and I chose this because I felt like The Anatomy of a Disappearance would be The Return fictionalized, and it's like, I've read that book already. Anyway, next, Modern Nature by Derek Jarman. And this says, in 1986, Derek Jarman discovered he was HIV positive and decided to make a garden at his cottage on the barren coast of Dungeness. Words. Facing an uncertain future, he nevertheless found solace in nature, growing all manner of plants. While some perished beneath wind and sea spray, others flourished, creating brilliant, unexpected beauty in the wilderness. Modern Nature is both a diary of the garden and a meditation on Jarman's own life, his childhood, his time as a young gay man in the 1960s, his renowned career as an artist, writer, and filmmaker. It is at once a lament for the lost generation, an abashed celebration of gay sexuality, and a devotion to all that is living. So I was drawn to this because, yeah, it seems this is my year of the memoir. And then, yeah, I'd never actually heard of Jarman, but today my mom was looking at it and there are pictures, which I guess is to be expected with a memoir, but somehow I did not think of this. So I'm looking forward to reading that. Another memoir by a writer whose work I've never read, surprisingly. Yes, I have never read Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit. And yeah, I picked it up because I've read interesting things about this memoir. So let me just read the synopsis. In 1985, Jeanette Winterson's first novel, Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit, was published. It was Jeanette's version of the story of a terraced house in Accrington, an adopted child, and the thwarted giantess Mrs. Winterson. It was a cover story, a painful past written over and repainted. It was a story of survival. This book is that story's silent twin. It is full of heart and humor and a fierce love of life. It is about the pursuit of happiness, about lessons in love, the search for a mother, and a journey into madness and out again. It is generous, honest, and true. So I'm really looking forward to reading that. Next, Charlie, Goodness and Mercy. Honestly, I picked this up because the title is so clever and so funny. I think anyone who grew up in the Christian tradition or in a certain Christian tradition knows what's being referenced here. But if you don't, it's surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. And I'll post a link to the verse that's being referred to downstairs. But anyway, and this is by, oh, I don't know if I mentioned this. Why Be Happy When You Could Be Normal is by Jeanette Winterson. And this is by Chris Van Wyk. Surely Goodness and Mercy is a heartwarming yet compellingly honest story about a young boy growing up in the colored townships of Nuclear, Coronationville, and Rivoli during the apartheid era. Despite Van Wyk's later becoming involved in the struggle, this is not a book about racial politics. Instead, it's a delightful account of one boy's special relationship with the relatives, friends, and neighbors who made up his community, and of the important coping role laughter and humor played during the years he spent in bleak and dusty townships. In Surely Goodness and Mercy, Chris Van Wyk, poet, novelist, and short story writer, has created a truly remarkable work, at once both thought-provoking and vastly entertaining. Another memoir, so 3 back-to-back memoirs here. Then, I got this. I'm trying to collect as many African books as possible, but especially Kenyan books, because I'm not doing well in that regard. And so when I saw this, I wasn't going to let it, I wasn't going to leave it behind. It's A Farm Called Kishinev by Marjorie Oludhe Magoye. So for some extra context, I read Magoye's book, Coming to Birth, which was published in 1986 in high school. Kenyans, I know that ages me. The rest of you, you did not hear that. And I hadn't ever seen a copy of this out in the wild, so I had to pick it up. Anyway, here's the synopsis. In 1903, the British offered Uasin Gishu in Kenya as a national home for Jews escaping persecution in Eastern Europe. However, this was never put into effect. This novel explores the feelings of the time and the experiences of an ordinary Jewish settler family. It also focuses on the impact that international events and racial attitudes throughout the 20th century had on East Africa. A character conjectures how differently things might have turned out if desperate refugees, instead of Afrikaner trekkers and English officers, had been established around Farm 64. So that's that. Then, I got this little chunker, which someone had lovingly covered. We used to do this in my family when I was young. I haven't covered a book since I started living by myself, I don't think. But yeah, it's the complete works of Rabindranath Tagore, who some of you may recall was the first non-white person to win the Nobel Prize for Literature, which on the day I'm recording is being announced today. Is being announced on the day I'm recording this, October 6th. So I figured I don't think it ever hurts to have a collection of works by somebody who's been well regarded, and I mean, I think I got it for 100 bob or 200 bob, so I wasn't upset. Then to read the back, this book contains the entire collection of the great Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, 1861 to 1941. He put our nation on the world literary map when he was awarded Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913 for his Gitanjali. He was the poet, dramatist, and storyteller of masses. He was a stepping stone of modern Indian literature. His works have universal appeal, which made him an immortal figure as social, religious, and political thinker and philosopher. And the hour in question is India, because this book was sold in India for 195 rupees. And then, lastly of that lot is Aftershocks. The sticker is on the A, but Aftershocks by whose subtitle is Dispatches from the Front Lines of Identity by Nadia Owusu. Another memoir. There's a theme here because it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 memoirs in this stack. And it says, the big headline is, I've lived in disaster and disaster has lived in me. Our shared languages are thunder and reverberation. Then the synopsis. When Nadia Owusu was 2 years old, her mother abandoned her and her baby sister and fled from Tanzania back to the US. When she was 13, her beloved Ghanaian father died of cancer. Nadia Ogusu is a woman of many languages, homelands, and identities. She grew up in Rome, Dar es Salaam, Addis Ababa, Kumasi, Kampala, and London. And for every new place, there was a new language, a new identity, and a new home. At times, she felt stateless, motherless. She has felt stateless, motherless, and identityless. At others, she has had multiple identities at war within her. It's no wonder that she started to feel fault lines in her sense of self. It's no wonder those fault lines eventually ruptured. Aftershocks is her account of how she hauled herself out of the wreckage. It's the intimate story behind the news of immigration and division dominating contemporary politics. Nadia Owusu's astonishingly moving and incredibly timely memoir is a nuanced portrait of globalization from the inside in a fractured world in crisis. So I'm just going to show you the Kenya Museum Society sale stack. Whoop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books, and I got these 8 for 1,500 shillings, 1,500 shillings. Then on the same day, I went to Alliance Française de Nairobi for the Kenyan Readathon event, and Down River Road, which is a magazine whose link I will post down below, had a desk, and Franklin Sunday, who's one of the co-founding editors, convinced me to buy this. So it's Kaskazi, a novel, and I'm going to read you and it says inside here that Kaskazi is a work of fiction, a collective effort of multiple voices from the Swahili coast telling one story. Right, so I'm gonna read the back. Abdi wants to create a new tune and galvanize his dying band, find his father, and reunite with his lover. When his love is tested, Abdi follows the winds north from Kilwa to Mombasa, carrying his hopes and dreams along. He must survive heartbreak and escape a near-death experience to overcome the folly of youth. Back from London with a heavy baggage, Mumtaz must deal with the reality that hers is a small town. Can she withstand the guilt and gossip? Heka Initiative's debut is a gripping account of characters adrift, written in prose that captures the sensibility of the Swahili coast. This story is as important as the themes it tackles. And he also gave me this. Yes, it was a gift. This is Radio Book Rwanda. The Red Book, as Don Jonathan and I call it. And it's by Mutsinzi Eric and Nduta Karaoke. Fun fact, I went to school with Nduta Karaoke actually, so the Red Book is in a lot of ways my favorite of the books. I just found out that Franklin's vaccination certificate is in here. Should give it to him. I don't think he knew it was in here. So all the more reason why we should do these exercises. So these are the readathon books. And lastly, the books I bought at the end of the month. The first is, we all know where I got this. I got these from Textbook Center at the 400 bob, 300 bob, 400 bob section. So this is Black Gold, The Dark History of Coffee, revised and updated edition by Anthony Wilde. And it says, your morning flat white has helped to shape the modern world. It may seem like just a drink, but coffee's dark journey from the highlands of Ethiopia to the high streets of every town in the country links alchemy and anthropology, poetry and politics, science and slavery. Plots have been hatched, blood spilled, and governments toppled to keep your mug filled with fresh espresso. In this thought-provoking expose, Anthony Wilde, coffee trader and historian, explores coffee's dismal colonial past, its perilous corporate present, and the environmental destruction that could limit its future, revealing the shocking exploitation at the heart of the industry. And I mean, I live in a country, Kenya, where coffee was big until, I'm going to say, the 80s or the early 2000s, and then now really a lot of people have uprooted their coffee bushes. Do you say bushes? Coffee trees? Anyway, and so that was interesting in that regard. And lastly, also for 400 bob, Christina Lamb's Our Bodies, Their Battlefield. What War Does to Women. And from the back, from the award-winning war reporter and co-author of I Am Malala, this is the first modern account to address the scale of rape and sexual violence in modern conflict. Christina Lamb has reported on wars for over 30 years, becoming increasingly angered by the untold half of the story. In Our Bodies, Their Battlefield. She gives voice to women in conflict, exposing how in modern warfare rape is used by armies, terrorists, and militias as a weapon to humiliate, terrify, and carry out ethnic cleansing. Speaking to survivors across 4 continents, Lam encounters the astonishing suffering and bravery of women in war, from Southeast Asia, where comfort women were enslaved by the Japanese during World War II, to the chilling sexual torture carried out by the Argentine junta that seized power in 1976, and the horrific gang rape of Rohingyas tied to banana trees by Burmese soldiers in 2017. From 1970s Bangladesh, where thousands of women were raped by Pakistani troops, to the Yazidi women and children who witnessed the mass murder of their families before being enslaved by ISIS, and the Nigerian schoolgirls forced to be Boko Haram bushwives. Along the way, Lam uncovers incredible heroism, including the Bosnian women who've hunted down more than 100 war criminals, the Aleppo beekeeper rescuing Yazidis, and the Congolese doctor who has risked his life to treat more rape victims than anyone else on earth. Rape may be as old as war, but it is a preventable crime. Bearing witness does not guarantee it won't happen again, but it can eliminate any excuse that the world simply did not know. Yeah. So that's it. I'm going to display my stack again. Oh God. Just a second. Enjoy the sight of the background. Here we are. That's all the books I got in September, and hopefully, with the exception of the Tagore, these books will have been read by this time next year, but we all know nobody's holding their breath. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and all the good things. And my huge thanks to my brother, aka YB, for recording this, his patience and his generosity in agreeing to watch and listen as I talked about these books. And I hope to be back here soon, because I've not been on YouTube in a while. I hope to be back soon. Thank you all for staying subscribed, and if you haven't subscribed, now is a good time to hit that subscribe button. Thanks all, and bye.